Hi guys, I'm just back from 2 weeks of skiing in the Swiss Alps where I've been testing out this, which is the new Ruroc Lite helmet and goggles. And I want to give you a quick verdict before I get into the detail. It's really good, but there's a couple of things about this system that could be improved, and one big one that might put you off buying it. So stick around for the full review. So firstly, sometimes my videos can be a little bit long, so I've added timestamps into the description below if you want to jump to a particular section. Firstly, as a disclaimer, I bought this helmet with my own money. I haven't received any kind of discount from Ruroc. I'm not getting a discount for making this review. They're not seeing this review in advance, and they haven't told me to say anything in this content whatsoever. What I want to cover straight away is about the look of the helmet. Ruroc's other helmet, the RG1DX, has been pretty controversial over the last few years because it's a full face helmet. Nothing on the mountain looks quite like it. It's very distinctive, and there's a lot of people that love it. There's equally a lot of people that hate it. The Lite is a much more traditional helmet setup with a helmet, some goggles, and a fabric mask that all work together. And I have to say, it looks really, really good on the slopes. The oversized goggles with that helmet, there's just something about it. It looks good. It's still kind of menacing, but in a much more subtle way than the RG1DX. The helmet itself is a lot lighter than the RG1DX. The liner isn't quite as thick on the inside, but it is padded in all the right areas. My initial thought was, is this going to be as comfortable? And it really is. Although the helmet has a clip on the outside, this can be removed and the helmet can be worn with the goggles under if you're part of the goggle under gang, or you're starting it out for the park or TikTok or something like that. For me, it's just plain wrong. You need to wear it over. It's got to be over. Originally, I thought that these were the Bluetooth system in the previous video, mainly because it says Shockwave on them. And from some of the comments on my last video, other people thought the same. I have had this confirmed by Ruroc that these aren't the Shockwave Bluetooth system, ear pads, cups, headphones, whatever you want to call it. Those were actually on their way, and I do actually have them in a box behind me here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. I'm going to do a review of those later on in the future if people are interested. The mask, when I first pulled it out of the box, material didn't feel as good as, say, like a Buff, and I have a few of those. So I was kind of a bit dubious about how well this was going to work, whether this was going to, you get that weird wet patch on the front and it's pretty horrible, and whether it was actually going to stay up at all. I have to admit that actually the mask works really, really well. It has these kind of sort of double layer pieces here which go over the ears, and it kind of like hooks on, so it helps hold that up. You've got this bungee at the back to also kind of tighten that up around the face, and then in the front here, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, it's actually made of a slightly different material which lets you breathe through and it doesn't fog up the goggles. I think only once I had a issue with wetness around this area, and that was on a day that it was minus 25 degrees. So now I want to get into the goggles, and the goggles do look really good. That massive lens at the front looks pretty awesome, especially in black with the black helmet. And you do get a huge expanded view in comparison to the RG1DX goggles, which kind of suffered from not really having much peripheral view below the kind of nose line because of the mask. However, I think from memory of when I tested out the Oakley flight decks, they're not quite to that level of visibility, but they are really good. I didn't have any problems with those whatsoever. The lens change is pretty straightforward thanks to the magnet and clip system. Although I have to admit this wasn't as easy to do when wearing the goggles, but I think this might just come down to practice because the RG1DX goggles were very easy to just throw in and push the clips on the side. The lenses are pretty decent, and due to the terrible weather on the first few days, I got to test out the yellow low light lenses, and they were actually really good. I didn't notice any fogging on these goggles in the 2 weeks that I was testing them, which was great. The only thing I will say about that is that it was between -13 and -25. So I probably need to test those in a few other conditions just to make sure that, you know, before I say these goggles don't fog up, they actually don't fog up. But it's not all bluebird and powder days. There are two things that are kind of annoying about this helmet system, and probably one major thing that I need to test further before giving a complete verdict on this. These flaps on the side of the helmet are clipped in with these two teeth things, which is fine, but they do come out very easily. And to get them back in with gloves on should be easy, but it isn't, mainly because the strap then kind of comes out and you're fiddling with this to try and force it back in. It is really annoying, but what I will say is that you're probably not likely to be taking your helmet on and off that often while you're on the slope. So, you know, I can live with that. The second minor annoying thing that I found, and I get that this is pretty specific to people's faces, is that on certain days the goggles were pinching slightly on my nose here. It felt like they were pushing down a little bit. Now, I don't know whether that was because on those days we were at a higher altitude, it was colder, or I'd put the mask on slightly wrong. I need to do a little bit more testing on this, but I just wanted to let you know that that was there. It wasn't there every time, which means that I think that it might be user error, but let me test this and come back to you on that one. And this for me is the major issue with this helmet system: the price of the goggles. The price of the goggles is $180 if you buy them separately. $180. Let's just let that sink in. That's with one lens. There's no low light lens that comes with that. That's an additional $70. You know, you might be saying right now, well, that's the same price as the goggles for the RG1DX, the Maglock goggles. And yeah, that's true. But on the RG1DX, you don't have any option to use other goggles, and you're kind of locked into that system. $180 for these goggles puts these goggles in direct competition with some of the more well-renowned brands like Oakley, Anon, Smith, Dragon, Zeal, all of these who have, you know, talked extensively about the research that they do into their optics, the technology behind what makes their lenses much more clear than anyone else's. So what this means is that aside from how well these integrate with the light helmet and how good they look, there has to be a really, really good reason to justify a cost of $180. That used to be the Maglock system, and for the likes of someone like Smith and Anon, they're also using a similar system now, and in fact, you can change the goggles even faster. Speaking of Anon, they have something in their goggles I think the Ruroc Lite system is missing, and I hope that this comes as a future development as part of this system. A lot of the Anon goggles have their MFI system, which allows the mask to magnetically clip to the goggles. I'm hoping Ruroc will integrate this into a future version of these goggles that will go, you know, a little way to justifying the $180 price tag. And if you have, like, in mind a particular manufacturer or goggle that you want me to test this against, I'm happy to do so. Just leave me a comment below. If it fits with the helmet, then I'll give them a test on the slopes and I can do a future video on this as well. So in conclusion, the Ruroc Lite is a really good system. Ruroc have done a great job here. It's a big departure from what they've done before. The helmet looks really good, it feels really good, and in the testing that I've done so far, it's performed exceptionally well. So thanks for watching my review. If there's anything else that you want me to cover about the Ruroc Lite, please let me know in the comments below. If you have a different opinion from what I've said here, also let me know in the comments below. If you found this video useful, consider hitting that thumbs up button or even the subscribe button just to let me know. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you.
You guys see that shit?